coming to you live from sunny Arizona. The Steve Root Show is now live.
People of Earth, this is the dude speaking. You know, we've traveled to many new worlds together, and there's many new worlds to continue exploring. This is what the podcast today is going to be about. So stay tuned. You never know what's going to happen in the realm of the dude. Dude out. People, we got a lot to go over today. The reason I say that every time is because we always do. This is actually going to be part 2 of Drew Struzan, my friend that just passed away recently right here. And a lot of your letters that have come in are very poignant when it comes to expressing your feelings of loss when it comes to Drew, especially the ones that I experienced when we lost him. But I'll reiterate what I talked about last week before I get to the other stuff. I've known Drew Struzan since early 2000. Maybe even before, but I'll have to check on that based on my records. But the first time I saw him in the studio that he would be in at the time that he died, which is the one he's had for at least 30 years, I walked into his studio and he was working on one of the Three Stooges pieces. And again, this is something that was surreal to me. I didn't know what to make about a guy who could do art that was, let's just say I called him the greatest living illustrator for a reason. I mean, he was untouchable. He had a touch that is like a flaming meteor that never ran out of flame, and he continued to do it for 30 years, 30 plus years, and then the 2000s came along and changed all that, and that's when he and I were mostly in touch because he was being courted by Lucasfilm to, of course, do the new Star Wars posters, and he would always have a story to tell me about how they were treating him, which was utmost on his mind, as it would anyone. And I remember him telling me they had a board meeting at Disney. Was it Disney? Yeah, they own that stuff now. And they were telling Drew, we can't do this without you. And that's even in one of the books that he published, but it's a load of crap. They didn't care one bit about him. In fact, for the most part, when the greatest living artist in movie poster history and illustration history for the last 50 years would do artwork for these guys, he didn't even get a proper thank you from these people. Now, I mentioned him one time how differently I would have handled that, but his basic explanation of things was I wanted the next job. So there you go. He was very accommodating, and his wife Dylan was also the one that protected him from some of the morons out there that were trying to rip him off and the various other things that art directors in art, people in art, the art business, tend to do to people. It was just a crazy ride for him. When I met Drew, I had heard before that he was a very egotistical guy. That is not the man that I knew in any way. He was going through his phase of, oh, it's nothing, it's just stuff, it's just junk that I do, and it's no big deal. That's also in the book, the black book with a black cover. And people like myself and others who would hear this refrain, what do you make of that? I mean, and then the worst of all, when I would ask him to critique my work, he would say you're doing fine, it's every bit as good as my work, and I would just cringe for obvious reasons. I wanted to show you an example of the kind of strew technique that I used to adapt to some of my paintings. Seeing how I was such a influenced by his thing, but I don't think it looks anything like a Stru. It looks like a Rude, but I'll show you this in a second. And this is before I'm going to get into the other Stru original things that I took pictures of while I was at his studio, so I can go into more detail, which I think you're going to want to hear about. But this is the painting right here that I did that has kind of this, it's kind of my version of adapting a wash colored pencil kind of technique. And this one happened to turn out good, so that's why I'm showing it to you. The bad ones I'm going to keep to myself. So we'll keep that up there for a little while. Let's get to your letters here, okay? And we'll get to more of the Strus part 2. These are some good ones here. A guy named Rob Felber wrote in, your work has always put a smile on my face. Any idea when you plan to announce 2026 convention appearances? Yeah, I can do it right now. It's probably not going to happen. The fact is, guys at my point in their careers have done everything. We lived through the greatest convention years of all time, which was the 80s. There is nothing like the 80s, and nothing can compare to it. The things that went on there are truly, I made our business one big happy family. It is no longer anything like that, as you well know, and part of the 90s. But no, convention appearances, God, unless they fly me first class and give me 5 geisha girls doing back rubs every 5 minutes, I probably wouldn't even consider it. But then again, make it 6. Hey Steve, I grew up in Madison and purchased your Nexus and Badger comics when they came out. These guys are old as I am. Quick question, when I look at the Badger #1 cover, which is this one right here, it has you and other artists as the cover artist. Who did this cover? And who created, owns that character? My daughter is now on the Badger soccer team, and I have had her sign this cover for fun to give it to the family. Well, that's very, very charming. This cover came about, as I recall, because the main artist, Jeff Butler, turned in a cover that Capitol Comics kind of were iffy about. Jeff is a fantastic artist. He was really into it and had tremendous draftsman skills. But for some reason, it might have just not had the right kind of punch for a first issue. So I gave it a shot. They liked it. And then Jeff drew the actual elements in here, including the Badger, and then inked it himself. So that's the story behind that one. Moving on to the next letter. This isn't obviously an artist here. Is that George Washington Carver right there from Christopher D. Blue? Well, he'll let me know. Steve the Dude, he writes. Stupid question that comes to mind from a guy who's been a fan since the original Nexus #1. Again, my age. When you depict a superhero heroine outside of a story, like in a pinup, right? What is your favorite posture to have them in? I mean, like Batman swinging here, flying, leaping, standing proud, getting bowled over, running, landing. What posture gets you going, and what is it about that position that intrigues you? Well, the first thing I have to look at this, I have to look at it in the way that this guy is asking the question to help his own work. And these kind of answers are sure to disappoint, because when you sit down to do a commission, like I assume what he's talking about here, and you've got to assume a posture of the character, first you've got to think of the environment. And if you don't think of the environment, that means you're just going to do a basic full-figure pinup. And when I think about those things, I think about Kirby. He's the #1 guy that everyone knows about, who is the Einstein of our business. And if you're not familiar with him, it's because you were born at the wrong time. So go back and get everything from 1960s Marvels. They're always reprinting them, of which they paid Jack at the time he was living nothing. And the stuff he did from DC Comics, which is what something you know is the 4th World Series. So, but yeah, if you're doing a single figure pose, it has to be dynamic. You can pull off people just standing there. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact is, there's 1,000 ways to posture a figure. in any given space on a piece of bristleboard or canvas. So it's a matter of exploration. Guy from J-Tunes says, where are Steve Rudin movie posters? That's what the world needs. I agree. I asked myself, and I agree. I imagine a Tron Ares poster by you would look incredible. Commission him, Disney. Well, I've been to Disney many times. And it was fun before the 9/11 crap came in, and they had to make everyone walk in arm and leg shackles to take the tours. But it was so much fun before that, because they had a separate location from the mouse house, the hat, as we call it. And you really had a chance to walk around and meet everyone. DreamWorks at the time was much more free and easy. You could walk up to guys like Baxter, the guy who did all the main characters for the movies, like the horse movie and the Moses movie and all that kind of stuff, and the movie to El Dorado, that kind of stuff. He did the funniest model sheet of this main girl in the movie. I think it was spoken by Rosie something. I can't remember her name. She was a Mexican chick, and Chell, that was her name. Anyways, they were these idiots in the executive department who make no creative decisions and shouldn't be making any in the first place. Had a real problem with how short her skirt was, or how much it revealed. Hell, I would have said reveal everything you want. Just go with what works. But this is the kind of thing that when you get into institutions, big corporations, big behemoths that don't know how to make up their minds because they're not creative, run for the hills or dive for the river, because this is why I will never work for a company like Disney or DreamWorks. They art direct everything to death. They want 1,000 changes, and if they were to ever get me, I'd have to make it clear that there's going to be maybe no changes. How about that? No changes. I would simply turn in the rough, give them a closest as finished piece as I could in a rough form, and they'd have to go with it. And that's that. Now, Stru had the worst time with that stuff. He was continually bombarded with the most stupid suggestions of all times, in the form of, take the baby Adventures in Babysitting poster. Please. He had the babysitters in the cast climbing up the side of a building. You guys all know that one. And they would look at it and said, take the teddy bear out. They had a little teddy bear that was flying on a little with a parachute, and they told him to take it out. Well, that wasn't as easy as you can think, because Stru had painted the undercoat with textured gesso. So in order to get rid of that teddy bear, which they arbitrarily pulled out of their butts and said, change that, there's a reason explaining that coming up here. So he had to chip the thing off with some kind of little, hammer or something, some kind of delicate screwdriver or something, take it out, and then paint over it so it wasn't there anymore, because you didn't want to have that pole being there. You had to retexture it and all that kind of stuff. He brought it back to the morons, and they wanted him to put it back in. People watching this right now, what's going through my mind right now? Stru knew I was a lot less tolerant of this crap than he was. Sometimes I wish I could have been his agent. I would have taken care of a lot of nonsense that he never would have had to endure for the last 20 years of his life. But that's the kind of crap you go through with movie posters. They think they own you. Another real problem that came up in the 80s and part of the 90s, when they were still doing hand-done movie posters, is the art directors were so stupid that they couldn't understand what a colored rough meant. You had to explain it to them. So why are these people art directors? Why aren't they out there shoveling coal or something or sweeping floors? I don't know, but they always get in there. We know that, and they're always going to be there. And they're always going to stay there. They never get fired. They just get transferred to a higher position. Well, these guys apparently couldn't read the artwork of a half-finished color rough. So eventually, Stru had to go into this process of doing miniature versions of the same painting in the same amount of detail that he would have to go into before the finish would be okay. Now, what the hell is that all about? And the whole business fell into that. That really pisses me off because just because someone tells you to do that, it doesn't mean they can't change their mind if they're straightened out. Once they're straightened out and given some information about what they're doing to help the artist and what they're doing to make the artist's life hell, I think they would back off. And but I don't think any of them ever did that. They just kind of compliantly went along. I hate compliantly go along to anything, as you'll see again later on. But yeah, what he went through, the only times he ever went through anything with fair ease was working for either Spielberg or Lucas. And even then, if Lucas was too busy or Spielberg was too busy, they'd have some flunky step in, and then going through hell would start all over again. So no Disney, no anyone, unless they pay me literally $100,000. I think Stru got, oh God, he got a lot of money. That's the only good thing I heard about when he did the Star Wars poster for that new Ren chick or whatever her name is. You know, the one with the Solo, or what's the guy from? God damn it. Okay, the guy with the hat. Okay, Indiana Jones. He was in there. Okay. Yeah, Harrison Ford. Of course, I knew that. But he was in there with the girl and some black guy, and it was a very atypical kind of arrangement for a poster. And all the time, Stu kept saying, I kept asking him, well, when is it? When can I see it? And he said, I have to know that they're even going to use it first. Can you believe that? The greatest artist that was requested by the top guys that knew better and everyone else who didn't know better was in question if his work would ever even get into print in the poster circulation business worldwide for a movie that big. Let's move on to more sentiments about Stru himself. This is from Mark Poe. Sorry for Mr. Struzan's passing, Steve. He sounds like a guy we would all have liked to have known as a friend and inspiration. I pray you and all his loved ones will be comforted in this time of mourning. One of the reasons I was so adamant about keeping in touch with Stru, one, he was the greatest artist I've ever known, and he didn't have a lot of friends. He didn't trust people for good reason. But I was one of these guys, I might have mentioned this last week, where I did something that no one else would have done. I would literally just drive over to his pad and just start walking up the driveway and wave to him, and we'd head out to the studio. I think everyone else had to book things 6 months in advance. It's not my style, folks. I just get in there, and we had a great time doing that stuff. He was easy going about that kind of stuff. So, Buck 72, these names, I tell you. In my opinion, this is about Stru again. Those we love, it could be, this is very, very prescient here. It could be 100 years longer when they leave us, and you will always want just one more day. In the end, our time on this earth is short. Every day is a gift. It really is. You start to appreciate that more once you reach your late 60s. I'm sorry for your loss of your friend. Treasure the memories of those gifts. God bless you both. Well, I hope God is blessing Stru about now. That's about the time he would want to use it. Yeah, this letter. This reminds me of the thing that I always said about Stru, in that no matter, and you guys can identify with this, no matter how many times I saw his art coming up from either Heritage or something in Google or whatever, or something that he had in his studio that he had posters of and might have given me one, you never have enough of Stru. I never had enough Strus. So this is some kind of weird human failing to always want more of something. And it's definitely a screwy way to think about things. You're never satisfied with it. And if you're a guy like me, you're definitely like that, which is pathetic. But we move on here to Eric Gomez. Steve, I'm very sorry for the loss of your friend, Stru. Please accept my sincere condolences. I was just a kid when I saw his artwork for the famous films like Blade Runner, my favorite, according to him, and I'm saddened to hear that he was not treated like the master artist he obviously was. He will be missed. Well, I guess we went into some of that a couple minutes earlier here, so I'll move on to the next letter here. This is the letter that I'll end with right here, and then I'll get into community announcements. This is from David Terrario. I'm really sorry for your loss, Steve. Sincerely. Getting to know and directly learn from the words of an artist you admire that much is a precious gift, which I can say, having experienced it. I wonder if his heartbreak helped you tap, this is the critical part right here. I wonder if his heartbreak helped you tap into how strong you would have to be to help turn into the artist, which with such steely resolve, to do what Steve Rude does, make art his way, fearlessly and endlessly striving. And I don't remember saying this last week, but typical, right? Guy writes, I could see the Kirk compliment. If you guys don't remember that from last week, I talk too fast. I hate that. We were at a brunch with my family, the Sillies, and Stru and Dylan. And Stru actually brought out a sketchbook, which I never had a chance to look at because it was just an hour-long kind of a thing. And I know there's somewhere, I'm going to look into that about asking Dylan if she can ever dig those up, because as far as I know, until I started bringing my sketchbooks to Stru, because I was compulsive about sketchbooks, I never knew him to have one. And then all of a sudden he introduced one of his sketchbooks. So if I had even the slightest effect on him to start doing things like sketchbooks, which I'm obsessed over, bravo. I'm sorry we all lost him. Oh, and he also said you have a lot of Kirk-like qualities in you. I always forget the main point. That's typical of me. And I said, really? Wow, that's great. I'm sorry we all lost him, but glad you could share how great he was. This is great stuff here. So at this point, I'm going to read you a letter, but I think we have a comment in here.
Yeah, we just had a couple comments. This one says, Steve, I took a sci-fi and fantasy poster and book cover class at RISD, and the first session we had, we studied Drew Struzan. Our professor stressed to us that he was the greatest to ever do it. A few classes later, he introduced us to a new artist, Steve Rude. He referred to you as a classically trained painter.
Are you kidding me? That's gonna kill me. Go on. What's the next letter?
Nope, that was it.
That was it. Okay. Well, that I'll try to move on here. Okay. So going with the last letter that I recited there from David Terrero. I want to read a letter that Stru wrote me several years before his health started to really decline. And well, first let me read the letter that I wrote to him. These are emails here, okay? And I said, Drew, wait, let me read this again here. Okay, this is my response. Okay, so I'll read Stru's letter first here. Steve, carry on, my friend. Somebody has got to do it when I'm no longer here. Might as well be a tough guy who can carry the torch, hold it high, and light the world. Be good, Drew. So I wrote back, Drew, those sure are kind words you sent me, but I think you've clearly forgotten that the citation for the world's hardest worker can hardly go to me. Nobody could have endured the stresses and strains that you went through in the movie illustration loathsome agents industry for 40 years. And you still turned out work so brilliantly superior. There is simply no competing with your abilities, Drew. You are the greatest. I am honored to have the very ground of self, to be in the very ground of self, to know a man such as you, Drew. Your friend forever, Steve Rude. This was very common of the kind of replies I would give him, but normally I was always the one that wrote first because I always had questions for him. I seem to be the question man here. The question answerers have to come from someone else, apparently. So these are incredible things here. Drew Struzan never turned out a bad job. And he was the most, just like Jack Kirby, he was the most mistreated artist that the industry ever saw, and the very greatest artist the industry ever saw. There seems to be a commonality there. But Drew, in all his greatness and his need to push on, no matter what they did to him or what they didn't do for him, he always gave it 100%. Now, if you think that's easy, guys, it is not. A lot of what propels artists on to do great work is knowing that they're going to please the people they work for. So anyone who thinks that's a myth or a fallacy, you would be incorrect about that. If artists have it the way they want to, they're going to always want to have feedback on what they've done. So Stru would routinely turn in poster after poster after poster, meeting the insane deadlines of often up to either overnight, like the Thing poster, or the normal week that he had to turn out one of these 30 by 40 posters. Let me tell you, people, with a cast of thousands, he usually put into all his posters. Ask me how, okay, you can ask me this and I'll give you the answer. How easy do you think it was to do a poster like that in a week? Let me think. Okay, it was awful. I would love to do a movie poster for a commission of some kind. And I would charge a rather large amount for it, at least 20 grand, I would think. And I would do it on the same illustration board that all the movie poster artists worked on for the one sheet, as they call it, and give it my absolute best shot. It would be a joy to receive something from somebody of a movie or some classic movie that I had an affinity for that I would like to do my own version of. That would just be a blast. There were people that contacted me a couple years back about that, but I don't think they could afford it, so that never took place. So
the guy from Iris ID had a new comment. He says, Steve, I think there's a spiritual link between the classes we had at RISD and Stru and the following classes we were taught about your work. Clearly, our professor held you two in similar regard.
There's a story in Nexus number 3, black and white, where Dave says in a backup story, what did you think of the job you did, Dave? You did good, didn't you? And Dave says, through Baron's words, which were really good, it ill becomes one to blow one's own horn. So there's, honestly, I can't even begin to fathom accepting or understanding that kind of compliment. It's so nice of people to say that, but my way of thinking does not allow that to go into my head. The only thing that I know in life is that I am my work. My identity is my work. If I start sloughing off or doing inferior work, there is no one who's going to be more pain than myself. So knowing I would rather prefer avoiding pain, I constantly do things to keep myself in fighting trim, as I like to call it. Always sketching, always learning from other artists, doing studies, working in my sketchbook for things I don't understand. I think we're going to get back to, well, since this is Stru Part 2, we're going to go over some of the stuff that we saw last week, but I'm going to give you more in-depth things that I learned about it and comments on the actual execution of the brilliance of the artwork. Now, we're going to start by doing what here? Let's get the Lady Hawk poster up. You know that one, Gino?
Yeah.
Okay, let me know when you got it up there.
The full poster, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Got it. Okay, so what's hard to believe with a guy like Stru who's so advanced. He's like literally, if I had to rate more mortal abilities among artists, this guy would be transcendently immortal. If you look at this poster from this distance, you can't even tell how it's done. But given that he's got this colored pencil thing going on, and the way he uses it is almost invisible in a lot of ways, and yet it's just enough on there to give it that strength of the design, that you can carve out forms when you come in with their lighter colored pencils over the darker tones, which is what I did here. Now we're going to go to a close-up of Michelle Pfeiffer's. Like I needed help there. Michelle Pfeiffer's head. Now look at the texture in her face. You can see it very clearly because these were shot off Stru's originals, which he let me take pictures of right here. There's like a very strange, like a texture going on here, almost as if he took the gesso that he laid down and airbrushed and color penciled over some kind of a very, like a wall texture of some kind, where you kind of go over it with a certain kind of roller, and you get these tiny little bumps. Tiny, I mean really tiny here. This isn't like orange peeling the side of a wall with paint. This is very subtle stuff, and that's what the actual original looked like. I hope you can see it on that version there. On top of that, let me tell you what you have to be a guy like this. You have to be, well, you have to be superhuman, okay? That's number one. If you're not part of the superhero guild, you're gonna have to wait and pay high memberships to ever get in there. You have to have perfect draftsmanship. Never mind that you have to resort to, which you didn't have to at all, resort to taking it on a Blopticon and blowing it up the image from the actual photo and tracing from the photo onto the illustration board. People, let me tell you how deceptive that is. That is a lot harder than you think it is. In fact, Stru was on the phone with him one day, and he goes, I was bringing that up to him, like how hard that is to pull off perfection in spite of the fact that he would use a method like this of transfer. Hello, Sam. And he would say, yeah, I had a friend call me up the other day, and he goes, you know, I tried that method that you're doing here, blowing it up and tracing it, and it didn't turn anything out. It didn't turn out anything like the one that you do. Why is that? Well, if you've ever tried it, guys, if you've ever tried to do a Stru technique thing here, then you'll see the difference between a genius and mere pikers. Let's pick another one here. You already saw the pictures I took of Stru. This was in his, do we have that picture up there, Gino?
Which one?
This is the one of me and Stru in his storage area.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Yeah, put the one where he's just standing there, okay?
Just him?
Yeah.
Okay, it's up.
Okay, so that one right there, that was taken in the storage area where he, about a mile from his house, he just rented a storage space to alphabetize and very cleanly organize all his paintings in terms of A through B through C through Z. And when I went in there, some people talk about going to heaven or visiting or having a permanent stay at Disneyland or being with 72 virgins. I go for being in his area, little area right here where he stores his paintings. Because when I was able to take these things out, it was one freak out after another. Whip it, take a hike, go chase the dick. One after another just came pouring out, and I just, his comment to me, someone looking at how I reacted, he go, "Well, they are for sale." I said, "Yes, I know they're for sale." In fact, recently on Heritage, Whip it, take a hike, you blowhard. Recently on Heritage, there was a Stru poster, one of his absolute best from the 80s. It was the Return to Oz poster with little Dorothy and all the characters, animals and stuff. And it was just like the last word on what you could have done to render that image on a board as artwork. And I wrote in and said, "What's the guy selling it for?" I was curious, because I know the guys at Heritage, they sell my own art there. And I said, "Well, I could probably afford 10 grand at the most, and I'd have to take out a loan for that." So the guy at Heritage writes back and said, "The guy bought this in 2000 or 1900 whatever, and he bought it for $65,000. Or was it $165,000? I get math mixed up sometime." So I quietly just kind of thanked him and hung up the phone. Our next poster is, oh, and show the girl here, okay? Show the girl. We got to show the girl. This is the mystery girl that everyone apparently puts such a fuss about, asking Stru who she is and how I can meet her. And blowhard, get out of here. Whip it. Do we have that up there? Okay, so this is one of the last posters he had in the storage area. If you look way to the right there, it was propped up against a space that had a very large storage area. And the reason it was large is because this poster is 5 feet tall. Or is it 6? I don't know. It's huge. It is not on some 30 by 40 piece of paper. It's freaking up to here. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And so I just blew my mind to see that he went through all the trouble of blowing this freaking girl up to a height of 6 feet. And of course I took my pictures. Did I have any pictures that I took here of the girl's hair? Looks like I don't. For shame, Steve. Well, typical of me. Oh, there she is right there. There she is right there. Okay, but that's a different poster right there.
You want me to put that one?
Yeah, go to that one, okay? Both images. Okay, so what we have here is the great Stru next to the humble dude right here. On the left is that girl's face from one of the Police Academy posters. And on the right is my very inspired version of a Stru technique painting with Sherry Jackson, As If You Didn't Guess. And that's only part of the painting. It's a full half figure of her from one of her still shots from Star Trek. And let's just say I had a really good time working on that. So that's a comparison of Stru and the dude right there. His, of course, are light years beyond me. The next poster I want to go into is the second Harry Potter poster, because I have a story to tell you about that. Got it. Okay, so this poster, let me tell you the story about this poster. He did the first Harry Potter poster. Everything went fine. In the middle of him executing the second poster, the dumbasses in the studio, true to form, called him up and said, "Stop working on the poster because we're going to go to photography." Does that come with a razor blade to tell somebody something like that? Or a carving knife? So what I saw in his studio was the finished version. He actually, I said, "Drew, did you actually finish it on your own without ever getting paid for it?" He says, "Yeah." So I hate high-fiving, but I actually gave Drew a 5 there. And it was very memorable. And that was a case where I brought a friend over to see Stru that evening. Probably just crashing in out of nowhere. And I remember having a chance to study the poster, but honestly, you need an entire day make it a week to really look at his originals and really get to the point where you're finally starting to comprehend the abilities, the transcendent abilities that go into work like this. You know, Stru did the work. Artists don't think of themselves the way other people think of us. You know, me being the humble dude, of course, that's a trademark name, so it'll be on my tombstone. But Stru, he thought kind of the same of his own work, which is obviously incomprehensible to us mortals. But that's the way we think about it. We're just people that love what we do, and we love trying hard. When there's another thing coming up that we know we have to impress somebody, you give it everything you've got. And that's a lot of preliminary work. And we forget about that when it comes to movie posters, because you've got to gather all the reference of the characters. And some of it they send it through was terrible, fuzzy, out of focus reference. And then you'd have to organize all the figures in a painting with a beautiful composition. And if he didn't have the actor in the pose that he wanted, he'd have to get the clothes that the people were wearing in the movie, pose somebody that he knew, which was often, this is what we all do as illustrators here, and then work from that reference of the body and then put the heads on of the characters that are in the movie. Not easy, let me tell you. So that's the story of the second Harry Potter poster right here. Hang on, I'm just getting started here. Let's go to American Justice. He knew that one very well. This one right here, the orange one. And I've got a couple shots and close-ups of here of what he did. Okay, so you have the big poster up. This is one that I had a great fondness for, and when I pulled it out of the storage boxes, he goes, "Oh, American Justice," like. But it's funny because the reason he knew that so fast is because it was one of his earlier works. And the farther back in time you go, you tend to remember things when things were raw, new, and still fun. So he just rattled that name off right away. It's one of his best, absolute best. And you can see from the two insert shots that I put up there, a lot of the technique that he used with his acrylic airbrush color pencil methodology to make it work. But if you go to this one right here, this is one I really want to point out. See the orange stuff there, the close-up? Yeah. We're going to show that up here. I'll give you a close-up of that. This area was done in a miraculous way. This goes to show his incredible command of using different methods of accomplishing something that looks like it's in great detail, but isn't. This is actually kind of the equivalent of a pointillism or a line pointillism kind of a thing on fine art paintings. The picture of the guy, I think it's a guy from 9 to 5, looks like him in the background here. You can see that if you look carefully at the rendering in the orange area, quit chomping on the dick's leg, blowhard, whip it. You can see that it was done with a lot of little strokes, but not with infinite detail like he did on the faces and the other parts of the painting here. It's done very sporadically, but expertly. You'd never know that it's made up of all those wide strokes of different colors, but it's not refined. It's not rendered to death. It's just him using his remarkable facility with Prismacolors in making it work. Blowhard, get out of here. Take a hike. We are going to rid the blowhards from the room and the dick he's chasing and biting his leg. Hike. Go give him a bone. Whip it, take a hike. Whip it out of here, funny. Look, you see what goes on here when I'm trying to do a live stream here? It's ridiculous. We are going to pause for effect here and actually go and remove the whippets from the premises here. Are we? Yes, we are. Whippet. Put Whippet in a room and she can cry all she wants, all right? Okay, so that's what you're looking at, what I'm going through right there. Whippet biting her fur, and Little Dick is her best friend that she tortures all the time. Yeah. You're not getting sympathy from me. All right. Well, they're not going to be, Gino's not going to remove them, so we're going to be stuck with that. Oh, the pain. Let's move on here. Actually, you know what? We'll save these for the next time. There's so much going on here that I don't want to burn you guys out from the genius of Stru. But we're gonna the rest of them that are up here that we showed some of them last week. We're going to go into them because I want to talk about what I learned about them when I saw the originals and what Stru told me at the time that we were looking at them together. So guess what? It's time for community announcements. I need a saxophone in here. October 25th, community announcements. Nexus, Return to Earth. It's your, guys, look, it's your last week to pre-order through Kickstarter this this campaign of a behind-the-scenes book. That's what we're talking about, right, Mr. Producer? Yeah, so consider backing this campaign because everything nowadays is backed. And I've got your back too. You've got mine, I've got yours. Backing this campaign and sharing it with others at steverude.com/RTE Return to Earth. Show off some of the pages I printed. Well, why don't we just show some of the originals here? You see this stash back here? It would cause headaches and sleepless nights for the fans out there. Moving on. Okay, this is the big one. You see this poster I have back here? This is going to tie into it. Now, you guys know that I, the humble dude, have been working on getting a Nexus cartoon show on, and you think it would be the easiest thing in the world to get this on the air in animated form and make it look like a Johnny Quest cartoon. But no, it doesn't work like that. Or if it did, it should have happened, but it didn't. So I have completely rethought the process of getting this off the ground. And what I'm going to do is something that you can read about on the website. And it basically is a want ad looking for a single person who's got amazing qualifications to help me begin the process of making the animated pilot, which is about I think it's going to be about an hour, according to the script that I wrote. So that's a lot of minutes. That's a lot of drawings. And the reason I need somebody who's really good is because they need to fill in the abilities that I myself either don't have or don't want to have when it comes to machines and software. They've got to know all that stuff. They're going at it again. Can we get rid of these stupid animals? Take a hike. Hike. Go on, Whippet. Dick, you can stay. Oh, he's going to go down in. Oh, boy, these crazy animals. Go. Time for a sparkling drop of pheasants. I can't wait till I get my own personal studio with 5,000 square inches of space. And an entire crew to help me out. And no animals. Getting back to the person I'm looking for to help me with the show. This is going to be the most critical aspect of the entire procedure. Because the person I'm going to need has to know everything that I don't and everything that I do know. He's got to be an expert animator. He's got to be an expert draftsman. He's got to know all the latest software. And he's also going to have to know people that can follow us up once we get done filming some of my these animals are driving me nuts here. Some of my test animation that I've been showing you throughout the last couple months here. Remember, I've got a pile of the test that's like this tall. Are we getting that in the camera here?
No, your hands are too high.
Okay, what about over there?
No, that's the close-up.
I want to show these guys what you're looking at, what they're going to be in for here if they want to apply for the job. Okay, I'm over 6 feet, well over. We're looking at something that's a little bit shorter than the dude here. So we've got all that animation paper to test in a one of the software programs to see how it looks. it has to move. We have to see it move. And I just read my books, learn theory, and wing it. But I don't know if it moves right. So this guy's going to have to come in and start out helping me film all the animation that I've done, and itemize it or categorize it, or what's the word I always forget all the time? It's the word I always forget. Bloody hell, my brain. What is it that I always say? What happened? Collate. Is that the right word? Collate?
I don't know.
All right. Well, we don't know what it is. Okay, I'm just guessing. But we need to collate and organize all the stuff that we're going to shoot here, make it good, fix the mistakes that are going on with the animation that I've done. After all, it's animation is the science of movement, not good drawings. Good drawings help, but it's got to move good first. So that guy that I'm looking for, maybe you, is going to have to fly up here to Phoenix and help me film all this stuff. You've got to bring your own software and set it up. And we're going to spend the next couple days, weeks, whatever, either getting along or driving ourselves crazy. If we are getting along, it's going to be a great relationship. We're going to continue things. And then that guy is going to be responsible for finding the rest of the crew. Background painters, which I want to do traditional with actual paint, in-betweeners, more animators, a line producer, a final check person, someone to do the music, someone to do the voices, all that kind of stuff that goes into every good cartoon show. But the best thing about this procedure, as I keep calling it, is that there's no corporation in charge here. It's just me. I'm the corporation. So you can see how that appeals to me. So we're looking for that guy. Are you that guy? If so, email us with animation crew in the subject line at steve@steverude.com. It's a tough one, right? Include your experience and a sample of your art. I long for the day. Welcome new Patreon members. Big shout out to all the new folks over on Patreon. You guys, you Patreon dudes, have officially helped us cross over the 500 member mark. Now, considering where we started with about 1 or 2 people, that's quite the achievement. So 500 member mark is halfway to our next goal of finding 1 billion members. Oh, that's 1,000 members. The 1,000 member tribe, a brave few who get to see what we're doing here and like hanging out with this odd corner of the comic cosmos. There's a good word. I didn't think of that. But if you want to peek behind the curtain and see the worthless animals here, see the pages before anyone else sees them, or just help me keep in stock of Yerbil, kind of a version of this stuff right here, and Bristol board, and some Moose Tracks ice cream. Make it mint chocolate chip. And the Hound Dog for Milk Bones, head over to patreon.com/Steve Rude and join the fun. If we can hit that 1,000 mark, maybe we'll even throw in a digital pizza party, okay? How to Draw books. The How to Draw the Nexus book and the Figure Drawing According to the Dude, that's me, the humble dude, has about 50 copies left. They're going to go fast. If you blink, you're probably going to miss it, guys. You've seen some of the testimonies that have come in from people, and I never solicit these. These guys just send them in. I don't believe in soliciting comments. They either write them in on their own steam, or they don't. But some of the ones we've got should be what you should rate the book itself on, not what I tell you. But once they're gone, this is it for the print run, guys. It's packed with the methods, sketches, and questionable life advice. I would say it's unquestionable life advice that got me through 40 years of comics and just plain surviving. So get it while the getting's good. Check this book out at steverude.com/howtodraw and get one of these last remaining 50 copies. that is it. That's all the stuff we got for today. Is there anything else we want to go through? Well, I believe there is. If you guys want to see me ink something? Okay. What was that? Did you hear something there, Gino? Okay, I heard a cry for. I believe it sounded.
Shouting, digital pizza party.
Yeah. Okay, so they want the pizza party, but first you're gonna have to come over here to the animation desk because I'm actually gonna ink something the way things are going to be inked when I go over the actual layouts. Once the drawings are completely refined and tied down, we're going to have to go over with a marker. And this is how the work that you see in the 3-minute animated pilot for Nexus. Here comes the hound dog here. We can stand her. She's not crazy. She's not a puppy anymore. Where was I? So yeah, the actual drawings you see from that 3-minute pilot you see on YouTube was actually inked by some girl from Warner Brothers with one of these pens that I'll be showing you over here, the same one that she used. And I got to tell you, I'm so critical of what people do. But this girl, when she showed me what she did, I just about dropped my jaw. I have never seen such craftsmanship, such flawless craftsmanship in my life. When you redraw things, when you put a clean sheet of paper over a drawing, that's about as easy as blowing up a photo and trying to render it to perfection, like our friend Stru did. It is anything but easy. So let's go over here and see how I do. Maybe I can do half as good as the girl that we saw working over at Warner Brothers. So here we go, people. This is a drawing I did of Sundra Peel, my favorite girl. And I started, now you can see this is all in pencil. Well, until there comes a day when the camera can really pick up pencil lines, which is like 1 billion years in the future, if not AI can figure that out. You've got to go over it with a dense line, a black line to make everything very clear. It's the same thing that inkers used to do back in the old days. They would go over the acetate with a pen line. And these people were remarkably talented. And these aren't things, I just leave these things in pencil right here to the event that we can actually hire someone to do these like that girl did for me on my pilot. But I'm just for the hell of it, and because I think you guys, I'm told you guys like to see me ink. We're just going to go for it out here. So let's take this. This is a brush sign pen made in Japan. It used to be a joke. It is no longer. And we're going to fill this in with a marker, okay? You must relax. You must relax, Steve. And just sit back.
And we can't see anything because your hand's in the way.
My hand's in the way? How dare me? How do we get this hand not in the way?
Oh no, I have to film over your other shoulder. Shoot.
This is a futuristic bikini here, which I'm sure a lot of you are going to be ordering in the near future when we start putting the clothesline together for Nexus fine clothing wear. These sign pins are wonderful, but honestly, there are people that can do this better than I can.
I don't think I can get it.
Come over here, Gino. Just come over here, for crying out loud. Okay, now stand over here and just let them see the process here, okay? Can you do that? Either that or we could do a step ladder. Hound, you want to film? Hound dog? We got it? Okay. So this is a little better than what we had, right?
Well, yeah, I can actually see.
Well, that's kind of the point, right?
Just don't move your head.
The art of inking cells is as delicate as inking the art of inking comic book drawings. And this thick and thin ability of this marker is perfect for the needs of what I want. This is Sandra Peel in her bathing suit, her two-piece. Who wants to take this animal's place here? Because you worthless dick. All right. Anyway, getting back to reality here. Are you going to keep doing that or not? Are you or not? I'm waiting for an answer. There's my answer. We scared her off. Good for us. The hardest thing about these kind of drawings is they have to be symmetrical. And you can't make a mistake. Don't you love telling artists that? By the way, you can't make a mistake. Sure, buddy. Sure. Okay, so Sandra Peel is done there. Let's do the other Sandra Peel right here. This was taken from a photo from Playboy, I think. Every guy's favorite men's magazine. Until we found out that Hefner was a monster. Not good for PR. Probably good that he's gone. So, when I get done with this, I will erase the pencil lines. This is very delicate stuff. Make no mistake about that. This is anything but easy. I'm trying to translate fairly exactly the drawing that I drew here, and not mess it up. Dick, what are you doing? Okay. You'll definitely not move my head. See how the eye's pointing down there? You can actually black that in and still get the point across that she's looking the way she is. We'll feather in some of her eyebrows there because she is a blonde. She's blonde all over. Standard pretty girl ear. The hair, long sweeping line, made up of thick and thin. And we already did this line here, so we're going to have to do this line right here. Let's see if we can pull it off. Even the most fit girl have a little bit of a tummy thing going on there. Bosoms are a little big. All in a day's work, people. And the bottom is very much going to have a certain contour. When you lie on a flat surface, this is going to be flat, okay? Look at the dude going to town there. Not that he's all warmed up. A little modification going on at the same time. Some areas, I remember Doug Wiley always telling me about it. He wanted to put more blacks in Johnny Quest, but they just didn't have the time. Likely story. There's stories where Doug would tell me that he would say to his assistant, shut the door. We're going to add some blacks to some of these things right here. Imagine having to go through that crap when you're the guy in charge. I'm not going to follow this exactly right here. I'm going to kind of reorganize it in a way that feels right to me. So she's on some kind of flat rock there. And that's the way, I like it. So there's Sandra Peel. When I erase this stuff, I'm going to find out how good or bad of a job I did right here. A little bit of underbelly for the bosom. People say you can't do little feathering and stuff on these animated things. That's a bunch of crap, especially if these are still shots. And even if they aren't, big deal. This is a comic book adaptation into animation. It's got to look like a comic book. So there you have it, people. My version of inking with Sunny Sandra Pio. The most beautiful girl in the universe until I met Gino. A couple dots for good luck. Dot, 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 dot. Each one of these represents good luck. So there you go. And look, I hate to break it, you guys, but that's going to wrap it up for this week here. Anyone falling asleep out there? Because that is not permitted. Okay, we're going back to real life here. Here's the latest Nexus drawing that I did right here. Do we have that in camera?
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be a pan shot. I'm going to extend this paper to way down there, so the camera's going to pan over and see some bad guy getting blasted. See, justice in comic books always comes through. Well, my friends, I will leave you with the poster that may still, in fact, adorn the area when we have success with a Nexus cartoon show. Not a movie like it's mentioned on the HB placard here, but it's going to be something big, and probably as big as this when we, if we ever get it off the ground. So I'm looking for that special guy. And final announcement, I'm also looking for a guy who knows how to take lyrics of a song and put them to music. So if you're that dude or dudette, write in to the dude message board and send an example of your music, and then I'll send you an example of the lyrics that I wrote myself. You never know what's going to come out of somebody as humble as the dude here, but in fact, there's a lot, and there's a lot more to come. So keep that in mind. Work hard, okay? Study. Get your sketchbook out. Learn the things you don't want to learn. And then you'll be set for life. And do that for the next 40 years. I'll see you next week. Take care.